What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics Show. We are live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter channels. Guys, do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. As always, make sure to hit that follow button on all social media platforms. Check out the link tree in our bio. It will take you directly to the best and only spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with us, and that is the DSM YouTube channel. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, like this video, share it out with friends, family, other Philly sports fans, whatever you got to do to help push us and help get you guys involved with each and every one of our live streams. I'm one half of your host here, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty Martian, alive and well on this happy Wednesday, brother. It's going to be okay. Take a deep breath. We're going to work through it. We got a lot to discuss here on Hump Day, Scotty. We got Paul George injury news. We can't have nice things in Philadelphia. I think that's why Martian's a little upset, but they may have avoided disastrous options there with that knee injury from PG before the season even starts. Matvey Michkov nets his first 2 goals last night in Edmonton. Flyers get a point and an OT loss. We're going to talk about that. Rob Thompson extended through 2026. The whole coaching staff will return, says Dave Dombrowski in his end-of-season interview. And Scotty and I are going to talk a little bit more about this Eagles-Browns game from last Sunday. Have a little bit more fun with it than we did on Monday. Maybe talk about some of the players that stood out and we can take on a positive note moving forward into this week against the New York Football Giants. Pound the like button, smash the subscribe button. What's going on, man?
What's good, man? Happy Hump Day. Feeling all right given the the Paul George news, right? We got a little bit of a relief yesterday with the report about that. Flyers looking pretty good despite the loss last night. Obviously some excitement there. The Phillies, I am interested to talk to you about the closing press conferences there with Dombrowski, because I did find I found quite a few things interesting from that. The Eagles, obviously, we can talk a little bit more about them, maybe a little bit more about the actual football game this time.
Yeah.
I did want to say that, man. I'm like so over like the Sirianni conversation. Like
less about the gossip, less about the
man. I said it on Monday, but like the Sirianni thing, man. The only difference is that he did it to our own fans. Like he's been this way since he got here, and like it just goes back to my point of like, you win football games, nobody gives a fuck what you do to the fans. Like, I don't care what Damian Woody says on ESPN about our head coach if he wins his football games. Like, I don't know. I think that's gotten way overblown. And I think that's, once again, Philadelphia fans being a little soft and not being able to take something back from a guy that is completely heckled
I've seen that
by the fan base.
I've seen that thrown out. And I do agree to an extent. Here's my problem with that devil's advocate this time, because I do agree. Like this fan base likes to dish it. But the second, it's always like when a national media member or a radio host from another city says something about us in a negative light, and then it gets circulated on Twitter, and everybody's crying, and it's like, yeah, we can't take it sometimes. The thing with Sirianni though is it's like it's his own undoing. Like, you're not performing well. You haven't been performing well. You've been a cornball. Like, yeah. So it's like, right. If they were winning football games, and they're 3-2, so to be fair, like they are.
That's what I mean. We got to put this season really into perspective. Like, I do get it. It's been frustrating, but they're a winning record. Like, they do have a winning record.
The issue, I do agree, man. Like, winning cures all problems. The issue is they were winning at the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
And it didn't cure shit. So it's a seesaw right now with Nick Sirianni and how to feel.
And I'm not defending him. It's not that I want Sirianni as our head coach. It's not that. I just don't want to talk about it anymore after a win. If we lose to the Giants this weekend and it comes up again, and if he's doing some shit on the sidelines, then so be it. That is talking about it amongst the loss. But I just feel like everything got kind of lost in the sauce over the weekend, man, which is just so typical of Philadelphia, brother. But to your point, it is to his own undoing. He made the decision to go out there, act like that. He made some of the decisions in the game to bring it to that point. So to your point, it is fair at the end of the day. But yeah, let's start with some. I don't even know if it, what were you going to say? Because I don't even know if I was going in a positive route with where I was about to take it.
I know where you were going. We were going to kick off the show with that, but I see an interesting comment from Martian, and I kind of want to hit on that first. So maybe we'll start with the Dave Dombrowski Phillies end of season press conference here. And I agree 1,000% with this take by Martian. You can have your thoughts, you can have your opinions about Rob Thompson, Kevin Long, the rest of his coaching staff. So, like, I get it. Like, this year ending in his biggest disappointment as it did, you would think at least a head would roll. Someone has to take responsibility for this letdown. But I think what Martian's saying is right in the aspect that that's what Dombrowski's doing. That's what he's saying without saying it. That's what he's saying with bringing this coaching staff back, this manager back, and extending him is it's the players.
Yeah.
And I know he backed them to an extent, and he talked about how many all-stars they had, and they don't really need another star. And, you know, Rojas is going to live in Clearwater and go through this. Marsh and Castellanos are our two outfielders, and we'll go from there. Taijuan Walker will have to earn a spot. Like, he said a lot, and he backed his guys. But what did you expect? Did you expect him to throw any specific player? Did you expect him to throw Alec Boehm under the bus and just come out and give the blueprint to his offseason plans and talk about how, you know, they're planning on moving on from Boehm and they're going to chase this guy? That wasn't going to happen. I understand the concerns because part of it felt like he was making excuses for the shortcomings. And if they don't go out and make any major moves from a personnel standpoint, from a player standpoint, and they are running it back to an extent, then we have a Dave Dombrowski problem.
Yeah.
But for right now, I can't get too mad while we're just 2 games into each championship series. The season isn't even close to over for the rest of the league, and we expected Dave Dombrowski to unleash his offseason plans. But I think he did a little bit with what Martian's saying. By bringing back Rob Thompson, by bringing back Kevin Long and his coaching staff, it's a players thing. So for all those people that want him to hold people accountable, he did without saying who and why.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know. I guess my whole mantra, maybe it's just because of what's going on in Philly sports as a whole right now. But I don't know. I kind of would have liked to see some of the coaching staff change. Obviously, Kevin Long, the hitting coach. But he obviously has a lot of pedigree with the players, so maybe that, you know, all plays into. They want to keep like the chemistry right with the team. Rob Thompson is interesting to me, man. He's an interesting guy who I feel like the reason I found that press conference so interesting is because I feel like Rob Thompson almost skates by. In this city full of drama and disappointment and hatred of failure and falling below expectations, I feel that Rob Thompson just skates by like unscathed, as if he doesn't have any input into this collapse that happened this season for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I do find that interesting. I do find it interesting. I do get your point. You're not going to give away your plans at this point right now, but I do think at the end of the day, if you can't go out and get like a Juan Soto, which we all know how, you know, far stretched that might be, you're not going to try to go out and get another star. They don't need any more star players in the lineup. They need guys that can manufacture runs and help contribute in between, right? They need guys in between those stars, I feel, in the lineup rather than adding more stars. So those were all interesting. I do like that he has confidence in the guys. I think they do deserve a bit of confidence, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just like hitting the table for change right now because of the era in Philly sports. And
man.
I'm going on with the Eagles, and I'm taking some frustration out there on Rob Thompson. But I don't know. I found it interesting overall, but I think you make a good point. You're not going to tip your cap to what you're going to do this offseason right now. You still got players out there that are on teams that are still in this thing that you may want to go after. All of it, right? And you don't want to, force a guy like Bohm out or force a guy like Nick Castellanos out when you don't know that you're going to be able to find something better than them either. So, yeah, you didn't want to say anything too damning. So, I guess we could take it with a grain of salt in a sense. But I do agree with what you said, and I do get that point because I bring up the point about Rob Thompson. You bring up the point about the players, and that's where it comes out to. Like, there's got to be a balance somewhere. How much of it is on the players? How much of it is on the coaching staff? But I think baseball, to your point, is a little bit more on the players, and from what we saw, right? Like these, I don't know, man. Like because now that just snapped into my head. I'm like, what is the game plan, right? When this lineup goes out there against the Mets, and they're just swinging into the dirt, and I'm like, is that a player thing? Is that a coaching thing? Is that a
it's a player? It's a player thing. 1,000%.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and if it's a coaching thing, it has everything to do with Kevin Long. Look, there are three real important coaches that people know. It's the manager Rob Thompson, it's the hitting coach Kevin Long, and it's the pitching coach Caleb Cotham. Caleb Cotham had this bullpen and this starting rotation the best in baseball for 162 games for the most part of this year. So he's not going anywhere. Kevin Long, he's the one, right? He's the one that people want to see maybe have some repercussions for the 35+% chase rate and just the same errors and the same plate approach 3 straight years when it matters most, and we see these bats go cold. That's the guy. I don't really care. And here's what I'm saying. He does have the relationships with your stars. Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Nick. So what's the pushback by letting his head roll, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, we talked about this when the season ended. Yes, Kevin Long has input. Yes, Kevin Long is paid to be the hitting coach. But these guys aren't young kids that need to be molded into their approach and helped be developed. At this point, this is who Trey Turner is. This is who Kyle Schwarber is. This is go down the list. So I don't think Kevin Long, while I think he has his ups and downs, and maybe there is a fundamental organizational issue with their hitting approach. Clearly, something seems to be up.
Yeah, something they have to address.
The blame would go there. The thing with Rob Thompson is I know you weren't like coming at him like other people come at him. And I know I defend him a lot. I'm just going to let the numbers just tell the story. He is the first Phillies manager to take them to the postseason for the first 3 years of managing the team. He has basically a .576 win percentage, which is the best amongst managers in Philadelphia Phillies history. So clearly they're very serious about keeping a manager that wants to win. We know that when he took over for Joe Girardi, what they did last year, what they did this year, 95 wins, second best. And at the end of the day, yes, there are things that I was pissed off at Rob Thompson for doing in this postseason and doing in the previous series, right? The last year with Craig Kimbrell. The problem is these are his guys. Again, players have to play, and Dombrowski and Middleton have to give him options, right? So what I mean by that is like, what are we met like in game 4 when we lost? What besides keeping Jeff Hoffman in for too long, which I ate him up for. Besides that, what's the issue? He threw Jeff Hoffman, who was an all-star this year. Then he went to Carlos Estevez to try to get out of a jam, who was the main trade deadline acquisition. Gives up a grand slam. He starts the lineup we all wanted started. I don't, at the end of the day, the players have to go out and do something. So It'd be one thing if one thing was dominating and he was pressing the wrong buttons in the other category. What I mean is it'd be one thing if the bat showed up, but he just keeps pressing the wrong buttons when it comes to the bullpen. It'd be one thing if the bullpen doesn't let up that grand slam, but he keeps pressing the wrong buttons with the starting lineup. Nothing worked. The bullpen ERA was the worst in MLB history this postseason. The bats hit 200 as a unit. He tried to. I don't know what he's supposed to go do outside of all of that. So that's why I'm fine with bringing him back. Again, at the end of the day, you got to win something. So through 2026, through over halfway through Bryce Harper's tenure, if the Phillies are ringless, yeah, we're going to be talking about moving on for Rob Thompson. 5 years with nothing to show for it isn't enough. But right now, I can't really, press the panic button on him specifically.
No, I do feel that. And I think for me, that's the crux I find myself in. That's why I never played baseball, because it was like too boring of a sport for me to want to play. I didn't want to sit out in a field and wait for a ball to come out to me. I didn't want to wait for my turn to go and try to hit a ball and only get 3 strikes at it, and then I got to wait again. So like I never wanted to play baseball for that reason. And I do just wonder if that is where my disconnect comes with Rob Thompson, because I want a little more energy. I want a little more pizzazz out of my manager. And maybe that's just not for baseball. Maybe that's what it comes down to ultimately, is, when I sit here and I see these guys with their heads in their ass throughout the postseason and they fall to one of our bitter rivals, New York, I just want to see somebody get reamed out. And I guess it just doesn't happen. They just fall together peacefully. But I think the thing with Rob Thompson, it starts to fall into, once again, that Sixers thing. And it's not just a Rob Thompson thing. It's a Phillies thing. Waiting 162 games, not many changes over the offseason, right? No new coaches, no new coaching staff, same coaching staff, same star players. Maybe you change out one of the guys in the lineup and bring someone new.
I think you're going to see more than that.
And it's like buying up to get excited for the Phillies again.
If they run it back, there is an organizational problem. Like Dave Dombrowski might just be a problem. John Middleton might
maybe
just
that's
be
what I'm complaining about. It's not Rob Thompson.
Right. So there's no way you can look at what just happened, added on to the last 2 collapses, especially in 2023 with the Diamondbacks. Yeah. There's no way you can look at these issues and just say, you know what, I think we're good enough. I think you're good enough, but you have issues, you have serious issues in the heart of everything where you have to make a couple changes. To me, man, I would hope that you see at least 2 new bats as everyday guys in this lineup. 3 maybe is ideal, but at least 2. To me, it's left field and it's center field. I know you made the comment about Marsh. They told you what they think of Marsh all year long by platooning him with Johan Rojas. They told you what they think of him by sitting him in a playoff game for the 2nd year in a row, or 3rd year in a row. Like they don't actually believe Brandon Marsh is an everyday player. And they don't believe Johan Rojas is an everyday player. And I need someone to be an everyday player out in that position. So I think you need your left field and your center field fixed. And Boehm is the question mark, right? What are they going to do with Alec Boehm? So
hope that he can return.
I agree, man. I think that's the thing, right? We wanted some answers yesterday from the Dombrowski press conference. And I guess the difference in where our 2 thought processes are, what I'm saying, what you're, and understandably so, are thinking is they're okay with what just happened. They're bringing everybody back. They're going to run it back. What I'm saying is he's holding them accountable without saying it yet, because he can't say anything yet.
Yeah.
Because he's telling you it's a player's issue by bringing back the whole coaching staff. And when that happened, it let me, at least I believe in my heart that there are going to be moves and a major move this offseason. And that just isn't going to happen yet.
Yeah, I see y'all's comment. I have no idea.
Bro, I have no idea what y'all are talking right now, bro. I
don't know what I said in that last segment. What did I say that was like
nothing? I think I don't know. I think Martian brought up baby oil, and then it went off the rails. I let them go until I see like a Sixers comment pop up. But
yeah, I said some wild shit. What did I say? What did I say? Let me know what I said in the comments. We don't need to readdress it, I guess. But yeah, it is interesting, man. But yeah,
Pause.
Go ahead.
He said reamed out, fellas. Reamed.
Oh!
Reamed. Not rimmed. Not rimmed.
What context would I use rimmed? Where would that come into the equation? Okay, I see why y'all said I'm wild. Wow. You guys say I need the Diddy oil. You guys are like Diddy in the brain. It's crazy right now. But no, I do agree with your point, Dylan. I think, it's not a Rob Thompson thing for me. It is more of a change. I want something to happen. But no, I think that is also just more frustration of in the moment right now as well. So we'll wait and see. We got plenty of time. Like you said, we're still in the fucking MLB playoffs right now. So
game 2. Going into game 3 of each series, it's 2-0 Yankees. It's 1-1 heading back to Queens for the Mets with the Dodgers tonight.
How you feeling about that game tonight?
I don't know, man. I thought after game 1, the way the Dodgers handled the Mets bats with a bullpen game, and what were they up to? 33, 34 straight scoreless innings pitched from that bullpen. And just the way the offense was clicking, I thought they were going to take both in LA. And then the Mets come out and get to the Dodgers bullpen early, Vientos with a grand slam, and it's like they did their job. Like that's especially in a 7-game series in the MLB where the next 3 are all at home. Like they did their job. They're in a position to go back to LA at least up 3-2. If not, listen, the Mets aren't beating the Dodgers.
I'm rooting for the Dodgers.
I'm just saying. Oh yeah, me too. And it's a sad thing to say, but yeah. But let's get to them Flyers and them Sixers. TR. Let's start the Sixers, right?
Yeah.
That's the most pressing news. I was going to say exciting news, not exciting at the moment.
It's like it feels wrong to say exciting, but it is exciting that it wasn't such negative news, right? Like that is the excitement, is that it is not like a torn ligament, which is what the worry was when you see that piece.
Correct. Except I'm just confused at what this means for him, man.
What do you mean?
Because yes, we can breathe a sigh of relief by seeing bone bruise, no structural damage, nothing with the ligaments. But if you just simply do a quick Google search, a knee bone bruise says a minimum of 1 to 2 months recovery time for athletes. That's not being reevaluated. I know, like that's not being solved in a week and a half.
Yeah.
So like it is a good thing. Obviously, it's knock on wood. The injury comes now, not later on in the season when we need them most. It's that new toy that we always. It would be like Saquon Barkley injuring his knee in training camp. And we missing Saquon for the first month,
that's fair.
Like we just want to see what it looks like, and now we won't. And I don't think he's going to be ready for opening night. I'm praying it's just maybe he doesn't play in October, right? Maybe he plays in the 6th or 7th or 8th game of the season, and once he's back, we'll forget this ever happened. It just sucks. Because opening night against the Bucks, we're talking positives. Hell, his first game against the Timberwolves that we didn't even get to see, but we saw clips of, and obviously we go back and look at the numbers, and it's a perfect match. He comes out in the first half the other night, looks good next to Maxey, etc. And it's like we just want to see it. We just want our team fully healthy. This is following the Embiid news, which I'm not mad at the Embiid news. Like, good. Like, don't play him on back-to-back.
Yeah, I thought the reaction to that was very
odd. It's just the thought of knowing you already know you're going to be without him for at least like 15 plus games. Because they have 14, 15 back-to-backs. So that
I actually counted the other day. They have 12 all season.
12.
Most of them are in the second half of the season.
All right, so 12. Yeah. So 12 games minimum. You are not going to have. So it's just the thought. Yeah. It's just the adding up of 12. We don't have Embiid. What if we don't have Paul George for the first 10? Now you're talking about 25 to 30 plus, probably, and more than that, of not having at least one of them on the floor, and it sucks. It sucks.
It does. And let me start there. It does suck, and it is so typical of Sixers and Philadelphia for something like this to happen. Even if it is only a scare, even if he's only out for the next 4 weeks, the fact that it happens off top, like why do we deserve this? Like we don't deserve this. As cruel as we may be at times, we don't deserve that. We know how old he is, right? So the older you are, the harder it is to come back from injury, the harder it is to not re-sustain injury. So it is a bit of a worry. On top of the Embiid news, thought the reception to the Embiid, like, he's gonna miss games, guys. Like, this is what we wanted. So that's how I feel about Embiid. But Paul George, the biggest thing for me, man, is I don't want to get into like late December going into the new year and Paul George still isn't integrated with the team. I want to see him play.
I'll cry. I'll straight up cry like a little bitch on the show.
Yeah, man. Like, I want to see this before the new year. I want to see like them build chemistry before the new year. Like, not just
and
him
that's
play,
the frustrating part, bro.
but him play with his teammates and learn how to play with them.
This injury didn't happen from some fluke shit slipping somewhere on a practice floor. This happened from him wanting to be out there to get acclimated with his new teammates, playing hard on the defensive end. That's when it happened. He didn't slip trying to get a bucket to the basket or into the fast break. He was literally playing tough defense, poke the ball, and when he went to take a step back to get a burst up court to get towards the ball, it happens. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at this point of his career, Paul George is playing tough, hard defense in the preseason for the 76ers. And that's how we lose him for a period of time. That's how, oh my God.
Let me tell you this. Let me flip it into a positive, though, for you. And I wanted to do it at first, but we have to acknowledge the injury itself. But the positive here is that you brought in Caleb Martin as well. And so you have depth at this position that you just really haven't had at all in the past. Now we have multiple options at this position, right? With Caleb Martin, with Kelly Oubre, even Ricky Council if he has to play for a month, right? In an escalated role, God forbid, right? Like, it's not the worst in the world. You have a bunch of different variations you can do with your starting lineup as far as like moving like an Eric Gordon to the shooting guard. You can move, you can do a Jeremy McCain. You can do a lot of different options, right? That's what I'm getting at there. Reggie Jackson, right? Kyle Lowry can start if that's the way you want to go. Move Max to the shooting guard again.
Mean, you have variation. Has the experience of the postseason with the team last year, if need be. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Caleb Martin is better than Tobias Harris, first of all. You know what I mean? So, like, that is a W in itself. Like, that is a positive. Like, we'll be better off there alone.
That's the thing. The Sixers are going to be okay in the short term without Paul George. Can they win a championship without Paul George's help? Probably not. But they're better off. They can compete in the postseason, you know, with all this depth, with Embiid and Maxey as your cornerstones. I mean, it's what they had last year plus more than they had last year, even without Paul George. So they'll compete. It's just not to continue to harp on the injury.
The hype.
You just know we're gonna look back at this in like March and go, remember when we were so upset because he missed time in November? Yeah. But it's like it's the new exciting thing that you want to watch right now. I'm not patient. Not patient enough.
We haven't seen him play with Embiid at all yet.
Correct.
So, like, that is, I do feel you. It's not to make it like it's not a negative thing. At the end of the day, you want Paul George in your lineup. You want him in your starting lineup. You want him healthy. You paid him a lot of money.
The Caleb Martin, and you know what's funny about the Caleb Martin point that you bring up? Not only is he like, if that was just the upgrade over Tobias Harris, would we be trending in a positive direction?
Right. Like, he was the backup plan.
Did you see the report that like he was the Paul George backup plan?
Yeah.
And once they signed Paul George, they weren't planning on going after Caleb Martin anymore. But then for some reason, his market just crashed on him and they were able to swoop in for not a 1-year deal, prove it deal, a 4-year deal to bring this dude in here. Like, so that's the beautiful part of it all. It's like, you know, the backup plan actually is here to help, if that makes sense.
And you brought Oubre back. Like, that wasn't a guarantee either, right? The market fell our way with that as well. And I know the fan base is kind of like in between on Oubre.
What is happening on Twitter? I meant to send some of this shit to you. What is this Caleb Martin versus Kelly Oubre Jr. divide we have going on? Who should start? Who can they both start together? But like, what is happening? Like, again, like, so, we say we can't have nice things, but now we're like ripping us apart from within. Like, be happy that they're both the 76er.
Right. And like, I get Kelly Oubre, like he's not always the most efficient, but like he's not a bad player, man. Like by any means, he
Kelly
plays
Oubre was
hard
the
on both
third
ends.
best 76er last year.
Exactly. So like, I don't get the argument there. I do understand why the conversation's coming up because Nick Nurse talked about maybe bringing Caleb Martin off the bench as like that 6-man energy guy off the bench, which I don't know. How do you feel about it? Like versus him in the starting lineup? Because like him as a connector piece, I do kind of like more than Oubre, like just from like rebounding defense.
I trust Nick
I would
Nurse's
start both
mind.
of them though.
I would
Honestly,
start both of them personally. Here's what we know. We know that Kelly Oubre Jr. can start or come off the bench and play with Maxey and Embiid.
yeah.
We know that Caleb Martin can start as he did in Miami or come off the bench as he did in Miami and contribute.
Yeah.
The thing with Nurse's comments that I thought was the point was not to separate those two, was to separate like Gordon and the other Lowry and Reggie Jackson, for example, like to divide them up to help the guard
not
position
have
in the starting.
Correct.
Correct. So it was more of that than it was, Kelly and Caleb can't play. It's not that at all. Yeah. It's not who's better. It's a bunch of things, but I don't think it's a fucking big deal at all. Have we not learned this? Like, it doesn't matter if Caleb Martin starts or not. Right. It doesn't matter if Kelly Oubre Jr. starts or not. If they're both playing 25 to 30 minutes a night, it doesn't matter. Like Eric Gordon can start for this team. Maybe Caleb Martin comes off the bench. You know what lineup's going to be closing out the game, Scotty, and playing the last 6-7 minutes? Caleb and Kelly on the floor together on 90% of the nights.
So they're your best defensive options at the end of the day. They're gonna be on the court. So the other night against the Hawks, they went with this starting lineup, and I guess this is where the whole conversation came from. But Tyrese Maxey, Eric Gordon, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, and Andre Drummond were the starters there against the Hawks. So, I mean, obviously, take Drummond out for Embiid. Eric Gordon, like that's the thing. Like, I'm not starting Eric Gordon over Oubre or Martin. But
I'm not either. I
do get the point of Nick Nurse, like splitting them up defensively. You protect Eric Gordon, you protect some of your other guards that you might want to.
Let me ask you this though, right? Especially when it comes to 3-point shooting, maybe they shoot it around the same clip. Like, I don't know that Kelly and Caleb are all that different. We know that Caleb can go on heaters. We've seen it in a postseason setting before.
Yeah.
But for the sake, I agree with you. Like, Eric Gordon at this point of his career, like he's obviously not better than either one of those two, and both of those two can play around Joel and Maxey and Paul George. It's not a question. But when we talk about the makeup of a fit around Joel Embiid, maybe it does make a little bit more sense to have a guy that can shoot from 40 feet out and be just for the first couple minutes of the game.
Not a bad point.
Not anything deep in, not having to play, like what did he play the other night? 22 minutes in preseason? Maybe Eric Gordon's only playing 14 minutes a night.
That's
in the
without
regular
Paul
season.
George like in the lineup.
Correct.
Too, right?
Maybe he's only playing 13, 14 minutes in the regular season. He's just starting in that lineup around Joel and Maxey in that setting. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the beautiful part of it all, Scotty, even though like we're slightly depressed because of the PG injury scare, you're still excited about the rest of this team because I got news for you. Like that's the beautiful part about what Daryl Morey did this offseason. Even without Paul George, now Joel has to play. We got to get there first.
Yeah.
Joel has to play. But without Paul George, just without him, I got news for you. They're good enough to beat the Milwaukee Bucks on opening night. They're good enough to start a year 4-5, 4-2, 5-2 without Paul George until he's able to get back and help this team. So that's the thing. Like, it sucks. We want to see the star, especially. But at least it wasn't anything season threatening. And not just that, it's nothing that seems like it's going to be months on end. It's not going to be the new year before Paul George is suiting up, really. Maybe it's a couple weeks, and we still don't even play for a week from today. So,
and we got one back-to-back from
in between
basically the start of the season to the end of November.
All right, so one
So in the
game
month of November and
potentially
2
without
weeks
both
in
of them.
October.
Right.
Yeah, one
Right.
game ideally, right,
And you would
without
have to think,
Embiid
man, like, let
and
me ask you
Paul
this,
George
because we
there.
already knew the Joel news, and at this point of Paul George's career anyway, we knew they're gonna have to load manage him to an extent now, especially. You
Yeah.
would have to think they break up them 2 on the back-to-backs, correct?
Yeah.
Like, that would
Yeah.
be the like, because if you don't, not that they still can't win games because of Tyrese Maxey and company, but if you're resting them on the same night, are we getting back to that scheduled loss that just,
Right.
we'll go all in on one game, but we'll push the other one? Like, if you split up the 12 games for Embiid and Paul George that they have back-to-backs in, you are giving yourself the best chance to win each and every one of those 12 games. Whereas if you punt on one with both of them.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that.
I have no idea. I don't think so, but I don't know. Like, it's not that the news was groundbreaking or scary. It's just like, I don't. Is he even running fives in practice, Scotty? Is he even like?
I don't know. The thing that confused me is how openly Joel was kind of talking about his plans this season, and like it doesn't sound like he's like doing bad, right? Like, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
sounds like typical Joel conditioning going into the season, if that makes sense.
yeah.
But
That's the
right
hope.
now on
That's what I'm hoping.
ESPN, right now on ESPN, it says he's a game time decision for that Bucks game. Embiid, this was two
Which
days
is going to be
ago.
like every night he's listed as
Embiid
GTT.
is expected to have limitations during the 24-25 campaign, including not playing both halves of back-to-back sets and wearing a knee brace. So that's the report. That's the injury report, is his plans for the entire
Right.
season. So I don't think it's one of those. I think he plays opening night, quite honestly. But
Yeah,
we'll
I hope
see.
so,
We'll
man.
see. If he doesn't, then maybe it is a little bit more concerning, because this game is in Philadelphia. It's on ESPN. It's kind of a big note
Yeah.
to kick your season off in the right way at
Correct.
home. So
And while you are allowed to load manage in a sense, we, especially on those high market
yeah,
national televised games, the NBA does not let, like, they'll find your ass in certain situations.
yeah,
So I agree. I would expect them to play. I just, we have a week till that game. So you would have to expect them to start ramping up over the next week or in the coming days. So we'll see what
yeah,
any reports we get. Like, it has nothing to do with him not playing in the preseason. I don't need Joel Embiid to play a single second in a preseason game.
yeah,
I just, from what I believe I've read, is that he's like not really there. I mean, like, not really in the runs at practice.
yeah.
Like,
He's
he's
just kind of
just
working out
doing
on the
some work off
side.
to the side. He's not. So, like,
Yeah,
my point is, like, from the conditioning aspect. However, that picture of
he's
him
gonna
and
be getting
Maxie
into
talking
tape.
after practice, bro. Like, I know he came out and said he's lost 15 to 20 pounds.
Yeah,
He looks like that motherfucker lost 15 to 20 pounds. I don't know
yeah.
what he did after the Olympics.
He looked pretty big during the Olympics. No lie, he looked kind of
Yeah.
out of shape during the Olympics. If
And
I'm being
now, bro,
completely
like,
honest.
he's pushing like 2015, 2016 Embiid size.
Yeah.
Like, he's
So
slimmed
hopefully it's
down.
good for his knees, man.
Yep.
That's what the idea is, right? So it is interesting,
Before we
man.
move on,
They
I
do
see a
got
couple. Yeah.
they got a game tonight
Oh,
against
okay.
the Nets as well. So Ben
Brooklyn.
Simmons. I'm actually I'll actually be free to like watch this game
Yeah.
entirely. So it's a little exciting. There's not
Yeah.
much else going on tonight. I mean, you got the MLB playoffs, the Mets and Dodgers,
Just
game
one of the
3.
games. Yeah.
And then now the Flyers are off tonight too. They play
Yeah.
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
So
night, the last of the Flyers after dark start to the season.
after dark.
Oh, we're gonna get to them in a
I
second, so
like
I'll
that.
save my
I
thought
like
on
that.
that for a second, man. But I just want to get your thought on this Maxi conversation here that TR and Martian are throwing out, because I think it's not underlying by any stretch. I'm not saying that, but when Paul George was brought here, I think we and a lot you start to fixate on those two, right? Like
Yeah,
Joel's Joel, like Joel's been the guy, Joel's been the star, Joel's the process, he's your best, like, whatever. And then you bring in PG and it's like the missing piece. But we're not, but like, people are talking about Tyrese Maxey. You get what I'm saying? I'm getting
yeah,
like
yeah.
tongue twisted.
I know what you mean.
But like, he's almost flying under the radar of that the star power that he can bring. And I think everything he's doing in the preseason, man, I've seen a couple comments on this. We already talked about the quicker release and everything he's doing off the dribble from 3-point land. The handle's tighter, the handle's quicker. He's finishing more through contact. If he starts to get a whistle, like, dude, that's a difference-making piece as well. And I want to throw this out to you because I know you've been a Tyrese Maxey believer. Not believer. We've both been believers, but you have been, in this believer that he's going to be a star. And I've slowly gotten, obviously, to star, right?
Yeah.
Even last year in the postseason, you have all the confidence in the world in Maxey. We've seen Maxey save this season. We've seen him save Joel Embiid. We've seen the uptick, right? Most improved player, etc. There were still times, though, and it goes to the rest of the roster, but there's times when Embiid's missing that I just was not confident that they're going to go win a game because of Tyrese Maxey. He's done it. I'm not saying he can't, but it's just I'm not confident in it.
Yeah.
I'm confident that he's reached star level, game wrecker, game takeover type of guy this year. Like, regardless of Paul George and Joel Embiid, and that is not the goal. The goal is to have both of them on the floor. But if you give me Tyrese Maxey and the rest of that roster against, I'm not going to say the Celtics, but it's just a formidable, the Bucks, the Heat, someone like that. I have all the confidence in the world Tyrese Maxey can be the best player on the floor and dominate that game. He looks slim.
Yeah. It's across his body, but you can see it really in his like midsection, man. Like, that's where he was really bulking up, I thought, during the Olympics. His like midsection to, like, not to be, weird, but like his legs and everything. Like, he looked a little thick. But I think he definitely looks a lot slimmed down.
The picture of him with Maxey talking after practice yesterday, it's a side view, just like, oh shit, like he actually has slimmed all the way down. But
and Maxey on the other end. Go ahead. My bad.
No. I was just going to say that the Maxey conversation is just something to keep an eye on all year long because he can be that guy, dude.
Yeah, no, he's another guy that worked on his body this offseason. He went in the opposite direction, kind of added some muscle. So he's looking stacked now.
Maybe Caleb Martin can help that. Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you. Or maybe Caleb Martin can help break it.
But no, his handle, man. I love that TR pointed this out because everything looks a lot more smooth. The gather to take the step back gather, right? Just that little in and out step back gather to the 3-point line. It looks timeless. And I do agree with you. I think Maxey is reaching that game record point because of the 3-point shot. Like, it's one of those things where if Maxey comes out tonight and he's hitting the 3-point shot, he can go for 30 to 40 points.
Yep.
If he comes out tonight and he's a little cold from the 3-point line, he's going for 20 to 25. Yeah. That's where we're looking at Maxey right now. And the thing I look at in the league, man, I look at guys like Jalen Brunson, right, who's just not overly athletic. He is a strong point guard. Mm-hmm. He's skilled. He's mastered like the foul baiting of the NBA. I asked this question. Why can't Tyrese Maxey be in MVP conversations if Jalen Brunson can get into MVP conversations? Why can't Tyrese Maxey be better than Jalen Brunson? Why? It's not a skill. It's not an athleticism standpoint. What is it, a mindset?
I do.
That's what it is. Like, that's what Brunson is. He's 28 years old, Brunson is. Tyrese Maxey is
25?
25, 23. We aged him 2 years, my man. He's 5 years younger than Jalen Brunson. Last year, Maxey averaged 30 points per game, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Brunson last year was in MVP conversations. He averaged 32, 3 rebounds, and 7.5 assists per game. Maxey's a better 3-point shooter. He's more athletic. He's quicker. What is stopping Tyrese Maxey as long as he keeps developing?
The thing that I think has stopped any conversation from last year, not just the youth and already being like in the most improved category. So like if it's like most improved, are you blah blah blah? It's he has a Joel Embiid, now he has a Paul George. The counterpart to that though now is yes, do the Knicks have Joel Embiid or Paul George? No, But what are we hearing and raving about this Knicks roster, man? The
How
trade
deep
for
they
Mikal
are, how great their
Bridges
lineup is.
and well, timeout. I forgot. They went out and got Cat. Forgot about that. They signed OG Anunoby to a big deal. Like, so
Mikal
I don't
Bridges.
want to hear that Jalen Brunson is the best player on this, just bunch of, like, last year, maybe. I get last year, right? Randall's hurt. It's him and DiVincenzo and Hart and McBride and etc. So I can get last year. But that's out the window now. So they should be on even playing ground from a help standpoint.
Yeah.
And to your point, if the numbers look like they did last year, if one's really in the conversation and ours isn't, it's going to be stupid, man. I do want to just throw out before we move on. Do you see the way I wish Trinidad was still in here, because I would like to know his thoughts if he's as delusional as they are. Do you see the way New York fans, what they think of Jalen Brunson?
No, what do you mean? What do you mean,
Brother,
here? I'm
the
curious.
amount of clips and podcasts or TikToks of interviewing fans on the street and asking who they play that game of Jalen Brunson or would you take this person over Jalen Brunson on the Knicks? They take Jalen Brunson, I'm not fucking with you, over 98% of the league. The only guys I've seen them say yes to were Jokic. I'm not even joking that I want to say that's it. I've seen people say no to Giannis. They say no to Tatum. They say fuck no to Embiid.
Edwards?
Who?
And Edwards?
I don't know if Ant was really in the conversation. They say no to LeBron and Steph because of their age. I swear to God. They're like, if I'm building the Knicks right now to win a chip, dude, I will find. They think Jalen Brunson is legitimately a top 3 player in the world.
Brunson is this young developing player. He's not young. Yeah. That's the misconception with Jalen Brunson right now. He's not a young developing player. He's 28 years old.
Luka might have been one that they took him over, possibly, but I'm not even sure all of them say yes to it. It is fucking wild who they think Jalen Brunson is.
Yeah,
it really is, dude.
He's he's a great player. It's not to diss him. It's just let's bring it back down to earth, man. What? I don't know, man. I bring Jalen Brunson up as the comparison to Maxey just because of, I guess, the markets, how close they are playing in the playoffs last year, seeing them match up against each other. But I also look at Dame. You look at the trajectory of Maxey
and
compared to Dame's career. It's very similar.
Because I do remember the game Maxey took over, and Brunson, I think, was slow the first 2 games of the series, and we limited him. And I think, we were starting to say, is Maxey in that conversation? And then Brunson goes for 42 and whatever he goes for. Yeah. They take over, they win the series, and then it's you thought. But it's what are you going to tell me? What, he finished the job in the moment? Yes, he's 28. He's been around for so many more years. He's more developed.
4 years in college.
Yes, he's finished the job before the 23-year-old did. So
it's crazy.
It is.
What it should be in reverse is the fact that your 28-year-old is getting compared to a 23-year-old and that they're, going at similar clips right now. It is interesting, man. It is interesting. Yabusele has been impressive. I do think he will get into the rotation. He can hit the 3, man. That is something I did not know. He's consistently hitting the rotation.
I think he's one of the first few guys off the bench.
Yeah.
I think
he could start.
Dependent on Kelly and Caleb's mix and what Nurse does there. If they both start, he will be the first forward off the bench.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
I know it's the preseason, so they're trying to get everybody in, but he's averaging over 20 minutes a night in the preseason.
Yeah.
So
how nice is it to have Nick Nurse? How nice is it to have Nick Nurse, a guy that will actually fucking play him? It's so crazy because Doc Rivers, we just already know. Yep. We already know, man. But I like what I've seen from him. I think TR said it, or maybe it was Martian, about him being kind of like that PJ Tucker-esque type. That's a great comparison.
You know what peaked about? I know we keep saying we're going to move on, and we are in 2 minutes to the Flyers, and then wrap it up some Eagles talk for everybody. Yeah. But what really peaked at me the other night before the PG injury? It's I think we started the game down like 12-2 or something like that against Atlanta. We didn't hit a shot in the first like 3.5 minutes of the game. We couldn't score. And then all of a sudden, I think we had like 55 at halftime or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm going through the box score, and it's like, I think PG had his 8 and Maxi had like 12 or whatever it was. And someone else had 5. And I'm like, who's standing out? But then you just go down the depth, and it's Yabusele for whatever at that point. Like, just, Jared McCain, 6 points with 2 threes. Eric Gordon, a 3. Kyle Lowry, 4. Like, it's just so many guys can do so many things for this offense at all 3 levels. It is just a breath of fresh air, man. Last thing I want to ask you about is your Duke boy, is Jared McCain.
Yeah.
And I saw this tweet. I was going to send it to you. There it is, TR. It's not just the 3-point shot, which we knew was going to be there.
Yeah.
And I know it's preseason. We got to see him get into the rotation in regular season and meaningful basketball games where things mean more. Guys are stronger, bigger, more serious, etc. His ability to score in the lane at this level already is impressive, man. Like, I was going through this like montage that someone put together of him off the dribble into the lane, putting his shoulder into somebody's chest, rising up and hitting a floater over them. I saw him I think someone got a rebound and he stripped it away and went up strong for a layup. Like,
he stripped Jaylen Brown and then finished over Derek White.
We knew the 3-point shot was going to be there and could help this team.
Yeah.
The off the dribble in the lane type of body work.
Yeah.
Already, like, this quickly.
Finishing at the rim too, like off the glass. He's not overly athletic, right? He's not going to dunk on you or anything, but he has this like soft touch off the top of the glass that doesn't get blocked. I saw him drive on Luke Cornett, a 7-footer, finishes up over him, drives into Derek White, gets an and one, finishes over him, strips Jaylen Brown, like you said, gets the putback and puts it back over Derek White. Looked like a foul, an and one on that one. I do agree, man. I think I've been a little bit surprised. I saw him do some of this stuff at Duke, but you just don't think that he's going to get the freedom to go out and perform that way at this level. To see him doing it early on, the most impressive to me was that Celtics game because he got to kind of run the show. The starters didn't play much in that game. And while it was a blowout, You don't want Jared McCain to be your star going against the Celtics. But I believe he finished with 20 in that game. Let me just double check. So. Wasn't great shooting, but that's also kind of a growing pain. Like, don't be afraid to let it fly, especially in a situation like this. Went 9 for 21 from the field, finished with 23 and 3 in that game. Just the fact that he can go out in the NBA court and play at this level and do those types of things shows me that he could be in the rotation from day one.
I think he's Scotty, man. I think he is. I was going to say that to you. Like, I think it's not just the freedom that he has already and the minutes he's getting. Like, he's playing 16 to 20 minutes. And maybe that's because Nick Nurse, like, that's a guy he wants to see. He needs to see right now. I get from that standpoint.
Acclimated.
But he's carving out a role with other starters and stars playing right now. And it's the public embrace of his teammates that's standing out. It's Joel Embiid praising him. It's Maxi praising him. It's all these reports coming out of camp. And it's like, you're going to tell me that if Joel Embiid wants him on the floor, he's going to get on the floor. Yeah. Like, it's that simple. If Joel Embiid said, like, that's a guy that I could play around and could play with. And that's not to put down a Reggie Jackson or any one of those guys that he takes a spot. But I'm telling you, if Joel Embiid embraces him and wants him on the floor, Jared McCain is going to have a role day one.
Yeah, I do agree, man, because he does literally what TR just said here. He does the little things. He's a smart player. And I think it is not to toot Duke's horn, but you come from a pedigree program like that. You learn how to play basketball at a little bit higher level.
I do listen.
There is levels.
There's guys that's a problem. Look, Quinyon Mitchell's a perfect example. Kid played at Toledo. All right. Yeah. So there are kids in college from college baseball, college basketball
transition.
that rise up. but there's a reason. Like, who do you want? You want we saw this all the time when we were taking Jalen Reagors and shit. You want the kid from TCU or you want the kid from Alabama like Devontae Smith?
Yeah.
You want the kid from Ohio State. You want the kid from Oklahoma. You want the SEC kid or you want the Big 12 kid. It's the same thing in college. Now, I know college basketball, Big 12, Big 10, they mean a little bit more, but it's the same thing. You play at Duke. You play at Tyrese Maxey. Played at Kentucky. Like look at all the stars that come from Kentucky and other schools. There's a reason, man, because they are the closest thing to NBA level or competition that you're going to get in an amateur setting like college basketball. And that's the reason they're ready.
I completely agree. And the last thing I'll say about McCain, specifically with this rotation and this roster construction, when you look across the list of guards, which one of these guards rebounds better than Jared McCain? Yeah. And I know it's not that big of a deal because it's going to be, 3 to 4 rebounds a night, maybe, right? But it is a big deal when you talk about the things that we've struggled with in the past, man. Just going in there,
what got them killed against the Knicks,
and getting the fucking basketball, man.
It got them killed against the Knicks.
Yeah.
So I agree, dude. Look, I think there can be little roles for everyone throughout the season.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be moments where Reggie Jackson's standing out. I think there's going to be moments where he barely plays. I think there's moments where McCain's getting a lot of run. I think there's going to be moments where the young kid isn't getting off the bench. I think there's going to be a lot of different spots that Nick Nurse can pick from, but the depth is huge for this team. Speaking of young kids, let's transition over now, man.
Yes, sir.
To those Fly guys. I can't believe I stayed all the way up just for an OT loss. They are 1-1-1 on the year. 3
Not
points in their first 3 games. Obviously all up in Canada on this road trip. 4 games. They play in Seattle tomorrow against the Kraken to finish it up before coming home. 3 points in their first 3 games. You win tonight, or you win tomorrow, and you're able to start the year 2-1-1 on that road trip. That is an absolute win. It is an absolute positive, and it starts and kind of finishes here, dude. This kid, night 1 doesn't record a point in their win, right? Night 2 gets an assist in a 3-goal loss, and then last night just sets the tone on the power play. First 2 power plays of the game for the Flyers, he buries one. The first one, it was so anticlimactic, the first one, in his first career NHL goal, because he stuffs it in. He knows it. He's pointing. The ref says no. It gets reviewed. It's called yes. It's a goal. But then Edmonton challenges because they think he pushed the goaltender's pad across, and you can't do that in a scrum. So so it's this long double replay type of thing. Ultimately, it's his first goal. And then literal minutes later, they get another, on the power play, because if you challenge and get it wrong, you go a man down for 2 minutes. That's how the Flyers got on their second power play right there. And then
I did not know that.
He just buries a one-timer, man. It's a thing of beauty. He is an absolute menace. He's going to be.
Brings excitement back, man.
He's a star, man, and that's it, right?
Makes you look forward to Flyers games. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night after the Thursday night football to turn the Flyers on and watch some late night Flyers, man. It makes it fun. I'm excited to get out to a game this year at the Wells Fargo Center, dude. It is. It's nice to have a phenom. That's what he is. He's a phenom, man. To have that young talent, and just the
he's nuts. I thought Martian. You know what's funny, man? I'm going to go back.
If you would have talked to us 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, coming out of COVID, we were heavy on the Flyers, man. The Flyers were fun when they made the postseason. I will say I am I'm not like a Flyers. I'm not going to be in the slums with the Flyers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not.
That's like that. It's me as well. I'm not watching the last year when the Flyers.
Not a super hockey guy, but I love.
I'm not going to sit here and talk about the Flyers every other day when they're the 4th best team in the Metropolitan Division. But the Jeremy Roenick jersey is crazy. But with that said. They had, to TR's point, it's 90% of that the fan base, man. You have your Flyer diehards. You do. But
You do,
then,
yeah,
your
sure.
Eagles fans and your Phillies fans and your Sixers fans are fans that want to just watch a formidable team. And when they weren't that for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, no one cared as much. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but that's just what it is when it comes to that sport here. And
Yeah.
now you have a kid that is just captivating the fan base. Like, brother, it was 1:15 in the morning in South Jersey last night, and I'm laying
You're
there
sitting up.
watching Flyers hockey with the heart rate getting a little higher in overtime, man, with Sanheim crashing
Because
at the net.
as
So
a young team too, every win that you get in those situations, it's just going to make them more confident, and they get confidence from a game like that, anyways. So it is exciting, man. No, it wasn't going to be the Jeremy Roenick jersey.
I don't have.
Carter Hart.
I was gonna say, I have one real jersey I can wear right now, and it's not even a player here. It's just like it's not even a legend because he's not legend yet. He's got to be gone for a little while. But it's a Giroux jersy. Like
Drew,
outside of
yeah,
that, like bro,
yeah.
I swear to God, I have Carter Hart. I have Ivan Provorov. Someone got me an Oscar Lindblom jersey, like when he was diagnosed with leukemia. I don't know why I was given that jersey. He was gone like 3 months later from the team. So I have that in my closet. I have a Ryan Ellis jersey who we traded for 2-3 years ago now, who was at the time a top 5 defenseman in the league. Like he was supposed to be a guy that was going to change the trajectory of this team. I think he's played all of like 40 minutes for the Flyers in the last 3 years because of injuries, and he's probably never going to play for them. So I have his jersey. Like, dude, I have nothing outside of a Claude Drew jersey that I can
The
actually
Motbe jersey
go
is
yeah, that's the next pickup, bro. It
that's
has to be.
Yeah, that's the guy. He's gonna
Yeah.
be here.
But yeah, man,
No.
just they're fun, they're exciting. And look, if you stayed up to watch the game with me last night, it was a tale of 2 different periods. So not just to talk about the excitement, to talk about the game a little bit. The Flyers came out, dominated the first period. Obviously, I know we hinted at it on Monday's show. Edmonton went to Game 7 in the Cup last year. You know, I didn't even realize that they were 0-3 heading into last night's matchup, and I kind of said to you, like, I don't think that's a very, good
Yeah,
spot for the
we're gonna be
Flyers.
hungry.
And as the day's going on, puck line, Flyers plus 1.5 was like minus 140, and I'm like, you know what? Let's ride. So the first period, obviously they get the 2 power play goals from Michkov, and they dominate the period. I think the Flyers finished with like 11 or 12 shots to Edmonton's like 4. It was all Flyers offense. It was Flyers creating turnovers. The second period, they got absolutely thumped. They got thumped for 19 and a half minutes. They could not, both goals they gave up, they could not exit the zone clean, and that's what killed them. And it's not what killed them in overtime, but it led to a turnover going the other way. But like literally, they couldn't clear the puck. They couldn't get the puck out of the corners. And when they did try to exit, there was a sloppy pass or a puck that gets away, leaks over the middle, and Edmonton makes them pay with it. So they get killed in the second period, and then with like 10 seconds left, 20 seconds left, Bobby Brink just puts one on net, and it hits Edmonton stick. That's what you do, man. Just put pucks on net for novice Flyers fans, for novice hockey fans. When when they're on a power play and you see them passing it back and forth and there's no shots on net and you hear the crowd start to boo. Yes, some of it is because there's no lanes. There's no shooting lanes. There's no passing lanes. You don't want to just throw one at a skate or a stick and just end with your possession there. Yeah. But you hear the crowd boo sometimes because good things happen when you just put pucks on net. And that's what happened last night. They take a 3-2 lead in the third period. They are back and forth for a large majority of the third period. They actually played pretty well. Owen Tippett had a couple chances of some ridiculous goals on 1-on-2s last night. But then can't exit the zone with like 4 minutes left in the third. 2-on-1, and Edmonton buries it. We go to overtime.
Yeah.
Sanheim crashes the net, loses the puck. McDavid goes the other way, misses, but then gets his own rebound. Draisaitl buries it. We lose. It was, not heartbreaking. It was a shitty loss when you had a lead with 3.5 minutes left. But you take the point in that situation, right? Like you're in Edmonton. It's your third game to start the year up in Canada on the road. You're 1-1-1, young team. You take it. So that's where I'm at heading into Seattle tomorrow night, and hopefully they can come away and come home with the second win tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. It's one you would like to have, but at the end of the day, this is a young team. They're building towards something that might not be championship playoffs this year, right? We're building towards something else, which is just creating a confident group that knows what they can go out on the ice and do. So one step closer. I expect them to continue to build, and once again, man, we're gonna have to set up a game to get out to for the Fly guys this year, man, because those games are fun. Honestly, when the Flyers are playing some good hockey, you get
very,
out
very
to
fun
the
to
game.
get
It's
to.
very fun.
It's probably the best.
They're losing, 4-0.
Yeah, hockey's probably the best, like in-person viewing sport. It all depends where you sit. Like if you go to a Sixers game and you're mid-court, 6 rows off the floor,
the Flyers games are cheaper though.
They are. Like I've sat 4 rows.
You get better seats.
You sit down. I've sat 4 rows off the ice for like $100 before.
Yeah.
Now that's they got a little more excitement. It's not going to be that cheap now.
Yeah.
But they are cheaper than the Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey Sixers. But it is fun to get to. Let's talk Eagles to wrap it up. I know we got to get out of here soon, but Martian's been asking for it, which is funny because when we talk Eagles on Monday, Martian wants to talk Sixers, and now Martian wants to talk Eagles.
He just wants it all.
We'll get into it, man. The 4 for 4 today. And I said before the show started, ESPN, I don't know if it's all sites, but ESPN's gaslighting me because I know for a fact that you and I discussed the play of Moro Ojomo on Monday's show. And we were actually texting about the back-to-back plays he made in the backfield on Sunday. And
I swear he had a sack. I swear.
Or at least a quarterback hit or a tackle for a loss in the backfield, something. He's not listed on ESPN. And if you go back and you go play by play and you look at in the parentheses who made the tackle, who made the hit, it's not Moro Ojomo. So we either greatly misread a jersey name somehow. I don't believe we did. But he's not listed. So ESPN keeps gaslighting me. However, just going through some of the positives that we can take into this week. We'll talk more about this game against the Giants on Friday. To just get off of the toxic conversation with the head coach and everything. Positives you could take away, man. I'm going to throw some to you. Offensively, obviously, you have Jalen Hurts. I think he played his best game. Obviously, a clean game for the first time this year. He gets his favorite weapon back in A.J. Brown. Obviously, Smitty's back. He has 2 big touchdowns to both receivers. Obviously, the game icing pass downfield to A.J. I know they were hunting those go routes, those big plays early, which I did not like. I think Jalen started like 0 for 4, 0 for 5 from the field yesterday. But God settled in, played a great game, and that's something I think you can take moving forward, especially when, you sit back and you go, okay, well, we saw in week 1 against Green Bay. Yes, I know he turned the ball over, but we saw the offense high flying, fully healthy, and now they're fully healthy and he plays his best game. So maybe let's just see what he looks like fully healthy for a couple more with this team fully healthy. AJ Brown. I know Hembo tweeted out a couple times, or Dan Orlovsky tweeted out a couple times, worth every cent. Like the dude is just a game wrecker, a game changer. And you think the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore missed him. I think they did. AJ Brown, monster, obviously.
Yeah.
Grant Calcaterra on offense, man, obviously stepped up in Goddard's absence. Like you mentioned, had a little bit more burst after the catch than we've seen Goddard have in the last couple of years. So that was nice to see. Defensively, obviously, that's where they played their best. I think it was more of an overall unit, and then obviously lack of execution from an offensive standpoint for the Browns. But nonetheless, Quinyon Mitchell, we obviously know, was great. Cooper DeJean was the standout of this unit. And I'm going to give one more shout out here, man, to you, Brandon Graham. And this isn't just from this game. He obviously blew up that one read option on a 3rd or 4th down for the Eagles. He's been, obviously continuing to trash talk, gets a game ball. It's his 200th game. It's more of Brandon Graham this entire year because this was supposed to be a farewell tour. And it still very well could be so. But because of the lack of help he's getting from this young defensive line and also the juice he still has a little bit, Brandon Graham's been their 2nd best defensive lineman. I think. He's had to be in a sense. So I want to give credit to Brandon Graham at this point, man. He just wanted to come play, probably one more year, cruise off into the sunset, and just enjoy, Eagles
Don't work
Nation
like
and
that
see what
here, brother.
happens. Well, Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff and Josh Sweat and company have not taken the reins. So BG has had to step up in a big way. So
BG, the sun don't set in Philly, man. It's always sunny, dog. So, hey, you better gear up. You got quite a few more seasons. We're gonna need you. No, I love the BG plug there. I think what you said about the defense as a whole, I think that kind of covers a lot of the standouts in this game. And I pulled this comment up because I thought what Marshawn asked was interesting because so on one side of things, you take the performance with a grain of salt. It is against one of the worst offenses in the NFL, quite honestly. On the other side, I think we get lost on what this defense is sometimes because we have BG. We got guys like Josh Sweat out there, the Darius Slays. We got CGJ in the secondary. So you got veteran presences, but overall, it's a fairly young defensive group that steps on the field out there for the Eagles. And so, just like I said for the Flyers and their early season success,
it's a fair point, man.
Success is building confidence. That's what this defense needs to do. They need to believe that they can get to the quarterback, and then maybe that's the first step towards them actually getting there against a good team. So I get it. It's frustrating because I think we get caught up with the team as a whole.
We do.
Yes, the offense should be booming right now.
Yeah.
But the defense
it's a very Scotty, man.
Played over expectations to a sense. The only bad game in reality was what? The Bucks? That game was horrible. Yeah. The Packers game was suspect, but the Packers have a good offense.
Yeah.
But
Scotty, man, I gotta say, you're going through that. And it's not that Howie did a bad job. The 2 young draft picks is everything I wanted and more from that standpoint.
Yeah,
bringing CGJ back was something I wanted. So, I can't go in and blame Howie. But when you're walking me through that, it's the defense, the stages they're at, we're trying to win a championship. And it's the defense doesn't match the offense. And what I mean by that is, and I know they haven't looked like it. They haven't been healthy. The play calling's not there. They're not taking points, etc. They're turning the ball over. But the offense is supposed to be at a championship caliber level. And you go through this defense and you go, really, though? This defense that Howie Roseman has put together, in what way are they ready? They have talent across the board, but in what way are they mature, from a maturity standpoint, ready? In all 3 levels. You have Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond starting for you at middle linebacker. Zach Bond's been a special teamer most of his career. And Nakobe Dean, obviously with injury concerns and is still young, is just getting used to this now. You have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and a Bryce Huff and a Nolan Smith and a Milton Williams on your defensive line. These are all guys that are 2, 3, 4 years into the league. Secondary, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Reed Blankenship, a Sidney Brown when he returns, Keely Ringo, Isaiah. These are all young guys. So it's you walk through it and you go, the talent, we're excited for what the talent can be from a Mitchell, from a DeJean, etc. But the defense really doesn't match the offense the way we would need it to get to that ultimate top. I'm not saying we can't. I'm just saying
shut down defense, right?
That's the thing, man. We are, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve criticism, but when you go back and you think about the shade people have thrown Vic Fangio, and it's
what is he really? What could he have done differently? Put Cooper DeJean out there week 1 coming off an injury as a rookie? That wouldn't have ended up better either, right? Avonte Maddox was not it. We see that now. Yep. But you don't know that at the time. And Cooper DeJean certainly wasn't ready coming off of an injury out of preseason. So, I think that was a good point that we got to here, man, because I think the defense has caught a lot of heat. And rightfully so, because there's frustrating moments throughout these games where it's the Falcons at the end of the game. That was annoying as fuck to watch Kirk Cousins go down the field. Darius Slay gives up a game-winning touchdown. It's not a great vibe. But at the end of the day, you would ask yourself, man, shouldn't our offense score more than
Correct.
24 points in that game?
I agree. I
think
in 5 games the defense has been atrocious once. I think week 1, to your point, like you can look at the total number of points the Packers scored. Go back and think about how many of those drives started in Eagles territory and how many times they bailed out Jalen Hurts and kept them in the game. And it's a game they won. Game 2, they should have never, like, it's not an excuse. It was awful to watch. They shouldn't have been put back on the field if you just pick up that first down. And also, what did we lose that game? 22-21 or something like that?
22-21.
Okay, 22 points against the Falcons. All right, the Saints.
Saquon doesn't drop that pass. It's 24 or 27.
We see what they did against the Saints. We see what they did against the Browns. So they've been atrocious for 1 week.
Yeah.
So I do.
Where the offense did not help them at all in a 100+ degree weather game. Like, it sounds like a ton of excuses. I'm not trying to dismiss.
You got guys throwing up. You got guys leaving for cramps. The offense can't pick up a first down. The offense is turning the ball over. Yeah. And that's the one game you were really bad in. So I think it is a fair point, man. You know what this just brings me to?
You got to wait and see.
It just brings me to more confusion, more unknown. Yeah. All these answers I think I have, like I'll go back 3 weeks.
It is confusing.
And I'll go, man, this offense might be championship caliber, but they'll never win anything with this defensive line. And now here I am going, well, I know the numbers against the Falcons and the Bucs weren't good, but like, what exactly has this defense done to be god awful in your eyes?
Yeah.
Like bottom 10 and bottom 5 in the league type of bad. Like,
they look like a team that can they look like a defense that can keep their team in games and give them an opportunity to win games.
And that, I think, essentially is supposed to be the formula when you have all this talent on offense.
Yeah, exactly. So, the other guy I wanted to shout out, you talked about Ojomo. The only other guy that I think I wanted to throw in there was Nolan Smith as well. He had a sack in the game.
Had a little fire, yeah. You mentioned
had a little bit of fire. Had a little bit of fire.
I do
just need to see more consistently across the board from everyone. And even as far as to our best player on defense, Jalen Carter. If he can be consistent in what he does, it's going to open up everything for the rest of this defensive line and front seven. So I don't know. I would love to say we're on the right track, but I don't know.
I have some news before we get out of here from Jeff McClain. Hearing Dallas Goedert could be out a few weeks. Darius Slay trending toward being good for Sunday. So another year. I'm not trying to add insult to injury for him, but another year, another multi-week injury for Dallas Goedert that could linger even later because it's a hammy.
Time's running out here, man. It's sad. Yeah. I love Dallas Goedert as a player, but his time's running out here, man. You just can't afford it. You can't afford it every single season, you know? They're probably gonna have to draft a tight end, a young one, and maybe you keep him for one more season and let your young tight end develop. See what Grant's got this year. Maybe he can, mix in there. I don't think he's the future, but no, it is interesting. Last thing I'll ask you before we get out of here. A lot of trades yesterday. Davante Adams to the Jets, Amari Cooper to the Bills.
Yeah.
Anything you're wanting for the Eagles to do here? Like, do you even know what you want them to, if they were to make a trade, what you would want it to be?
Side note real quick. I know we'll talk about it on Turf Talk.
Yeah.
Davante Adams, Amari Cooper, yes. But the Bills are the winners. The Bills are I'm not saying the Jets can't turn things around, and I think it could be like Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall with maybe that just rights the ship. But after that win, that gritty win for Buffalo, they're 4-2 now. The Jets 2-4, and they basically went out and said, "Okay, checkmate." Like, yes, Davante Adams much better receiver than Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is now immediately the wide receiver 1 for Josh Allen, and if he can clean up the drops issue, maybe he just didn't like Deshaun Watson. They're going to have some fun up in Buffalo, and they're already the better team. So I think they said checkmate from that standpoint. From an Eagles standpoint, I will say this. We give Howie a lot of credit, a lot. And we love the Dotson move in the moment. He traded in division for Jahan Dotson for the same price that the Bills got Amari Cooper and the Jets got Davante Adams. That's bad. Yeah, that is looking really, really bad. Who do
the
I
other
want?
side of that is the money, though. It's the money. Like, it's not that we could have not traded for Dotson and then gone and traded for them.
No, I agree. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from a face value standpoint. Not that we could. Oh well, we traded for Dotson. We could have had Devon. No, we weren't getting Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper. What I'm saying is, face value, you traded the same asset that they traded for those two. So that's where it looks bad, and we're not even using them still. So it's whatever.
You did have 2 touches against the.
It's true, big first down. I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, we look at Vegas, and we look at Cleveland, who just traded away their 2 top receivers, and we go, oh, dysfunction there. Maybe they're having some fire sale, whatever. Well, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett. Hate to break all your hearts, Eagles fans. It's not happening.
Don't have money for it.
They're not trading for either one of those stars. I wish. I fucking wish, because that would change the one of those two would change my overall standpoint on this team as a whole, because they are absolutely that good.
Yeah.
Like Myles Garrett is TJ Watt level conversation, and Max Crosby
put him with Jalen Carter
right below them. Exactly. So
I feel you.
It's just not happening. Somewhere there's got to be a cheaper veteran defensive end that can come in and help this team out, man. I think that's where you're looking at. What are you going to say? Offensively, there's nothing. What are we going to say, man? Third wide. We already traded for a third wide receiver. They're not using them. They don't need anything else offensively. You look defensively. We even just brought in Perry some corner we signed or brought in from like Minnesota's practice squad 2 days ago. It's no big deal, but like you have so much depth in your secondary. I can't envision them doing anything back there. I don't know that there's a linebacker that's going to be on the market. And do you even really see like middle linebackers getting moved mid-season that are going to change your thought? It has to be in the trenches, and it has to be on the defensive side. So and D-tackle, that's where we have more of our depth. And what D-tackles are out, like there's no game-wrecking D-tackles in the league be outside of a Chris Jones or the one we have in Philly. So
Hendrickson from Cincinnati is interesting. I just saw his
Trey
name.
Hendrickson, 1,000%.
Not saying it's like been talked about, but it's something that could be a little bit more realistic than like a Myles Garrett.
Yep.
Harold Landry III from Tennessee. Don't know if Tennessee will do deals with us anymore, but
sure.
That's a guy. Yeah, there's a bunch of guys. Like you said, it's going to be more of like not middling, but just on a nice, maybe like still a rookie contract, and maybe it's they're approaching a breakout year. It's going to be something like that, right? Like a Bryce Huff, right? But I think that's the other thing is like we do got to see the Eagles defense the next few weeks. Can Bryce Huff? Maybe this game activated Bryce Huff. Maybe he's getting after the quarterback now. Like I don't know.
I do want to add, man. Again, I'm not trying to get on him, because he basically did everything I loved this offseason. But so did Dombrowski. And there's going to be a point where we start to talk about Howie Roseman in a little different light, because the only reason I say that, we're talking trade deadline, and I'm thinking about his past acquisitions.
Yeah. Kevin Byard.
Robert Quinn.
Yeah. Did nothing.
Kevin Byard.
Washed.
Remember when we brought in Ndamukong and Linval Joseph to help stop the run?
Yeah.
So it's like
Sue. I did like the Sue. I don't know. I did like it a little, but still, it's like
I liked all of them.
Low end ads. It's very similar to Dombrowski. It's very similar.
Exactly. I liked all of them on paper, just like I liked the Carlos Estevez trade.
Yeah.
Love the Carlos Estevez trade.
Yeah.
But it did, I'm not saying Estevez won't be back. He wasn't terrible for the Phillies. You obviously gave up the Grand Slam. I know that. My point is, like, we talk about Dombrowski for all these failed trade deadlines. Well, Howie's track record is not there, and there are holes on this team. And we, basically, I got to say this, Scotty. Let me ask you. Does any move, or maybe the lack thereof, aggression from Howie and the Eagles at the deadline tell you what they think of this year? Like, if he doesn't go out and try to make a move, a little bit of a splash, does that tell you, not this year?
No, because I do feel like we are in a position where teams are hesitant to deal with us just because of certain situations over the last couple years where it does feel like, in the moment at least, that Howie gets the better of another team. So the prices may be high. You know what I mean? Like for us versus, it's kind of like the Chiefs when they hit up an AFC partner in conference. Is anybody working with the Chiefs to help them get better? You know what I mean? They're going to overcharge for anything that the Chiefs might want from that team. And I think that's where the Eagles could be. Maybe not, though. Maybe they're not respected around the league. Maybe people look at Howie like they can get over
I was
on
gonna
him.
say, man, I think in a
maybe not.
past life, I think last year following the Super Bowl, and we were like what 7-1 coming trade deadline time. Yeah, like I think that's the case. I think now, I think there's so many teams that have maybe not for us personally, but have leapfrogged maybe the Lions are looked at in that sense. I still think people would fear a little bit the 49ers. I'm joking, but from a league perspective, maybe they look at how Jaden Daniels is playing. Go, I don't want to help out the like if you're an NFC team, I don't want to help out the Commanders right now. So
it could be that. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think it's a good question nonetheless. I think the Eagles will give it a week or two more just to see what they got on this defense. I will say this, like the Budda Baker rumor, I still see those rumors. I don't know. Am I tripping? Like, I just don't feel like a necessity for safety. I do get CGJ has played bad. You got the money wrapped up in him, though.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the most you're going to see is like Sidney Brown get more snaps at safety, right? Like they're just going to try different things.
No, and I got to be honest, bro. I think 2 to 3 years ago, Budda was the pipe dream. I think that's where the rumors were, and it's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. I want to ask you guys a serious question. I don't know the answer. Maybe it's just we don't hear because he's just solid. You hear too much about Budda Baker anymore, really?
Not really, man.
Is Budda Baker making big time plays in Arizona still? Is he like?
It's like you said. It was that pipe dream. You know, maybe he can be the.
And I agree. Like I'm not scoffing at Budda Baker.
He does lead their team in tackles, though. He leads the Cardinals in tackles. Does he have any turnover? No picks this year, which that isn't the end all be all, of course, for safeties, but from a leadership, from like a mentality standpoint, I would say definitely like he would be the leader of the defense. I don't know if you can step in like that and become the leader, but he would be a leading force on the defense. Whereas Kevin Byard was kind of quiet. I think Budda Baker's the opposite of that. More like Malcolm Jenkins, right? I think that's the idea. Is like we want that Malcolm Jenkins replacement, that Brian Dawkins-esque type of leader, but I just don't know that you acquire those mid-season, man. Like you said, it's really hard to do that and implement it. Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. The Eagles are in a very weird spot is the best way to put it, in my opinion. Not good or bad, but weird.
I know, man, because let's look at it this way. We're about to wrap up here. So if you guys are watching, I see over 40 of you in the chat right now. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure to help out on this. Head on over to the YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. It's the best spot to get your comments pulled up, like my man Martian here, and help us continue to add subs on that channel. If they win this week, which we're going to talk about that game on Friday morning, obviously on Sunday morning, which they should win. They lose, we're in a tailspin. They should not lose this game against the Giants.
3-point favorites.
But if they win this game like they should, we're just back to that game. They're 4-2. I think 4-2 is pretty good. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are getting talked about like Super Bowl favorites. They're 4-2, right? Yeah. The Ravens 4-2 at this point, or are they 3-2? Yeah, whatever they are.
They're 4-2,
right? Because they started 0-2. So like they're 4. So it's like I know there's. I'm joking and I'm being sarcastic. I know they're playing much better football than our 4-2 record would look like. But we'd be 4-2 with a Saquon drop and a Nick Sirianni mishap of being 5-1. So again, we're at the same. Like, are we playing bad football or are we not? The record's not really saying we are.
The Lions are 4-1 with a stinker against Tampa, just like us.
Yeah, but again,
we are better than the Lions. I'm not saying
Martian's point. I think that's a yes and no take because yeah, if you're 4-1, what are you really going to say? But I just can't help but remind myself that we were 10-1 last year, and we had these ugly moments, and we had these red flags, and we chose to ignore them, and then the house fell down. Well, if we were 4-1, be honest, are we playing great football? Even if Saquon catches that pass, are we playing great football?
Right.
We beat the Browns by 4, right? We look what we did in New Orleans. Like, so
once again, though, and we're just going down a rabbit hole right now because the Falcons are 4-2 now.
I agree.
The Bucks have competed with the Lions. They've competed with these other teams. They beat the Lions. Excuse me. They competed with, who was it the other night? Was it no? It was Seattle. Maybe that's who they were going back and forth. Tampa Bay. They beat some teams, right? And Atlanta has competed with the Chiefs. They've beaten some other teams as well.
Listen, Scotty, I see people saying the Eagles and the NFC North look like they're playing two different, in two different leagues. We beat the Packers with Jordan Love in week 1 in a different country. So it's like, yes and no. I do agree, man. I think, and again, within all of this, because we're playing. I keep backpedaling a little bit because I want to believe in this team, because I go, well, what if we're 4-2, could be 5-1? We're playing ugly football, but how ugly is it if we haven't been healthy? Like, yeah, it's gonna look ugly without AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson, right? And now you don't have Dallas Goedert. Like, yes, that's going to look ugly. So it's like, I don't know. I need to see sustainability from this core. I know Goddard's out now, but you got Smitty, you got Saquon, you got AJ. The defense is getting healthier. DeJean's starting. I need to see stability over the next month. And
stop
I need
killing
to see
yourself.
This offense start to play at a higher level. And then I'll go, all right, you know what? They were injured, and maybe this is a good football team. But until then, I have to temper my expectations, man.
I agree completely, man. I think that's exactly what it is, because week to week we get so frustrated, but you just got to hone it in and put it in perspective, man. At the end of the day, I think coming out of that Bucks game, I realized I was just a little more disappointed in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Rather than, anything else. Obviously, Sirianni is what he is. You're going to have to win despite him. But week to week, man, we
problem in itself. But hey, he apologized, right? So let bygones be bygones, I guess.
Until they lose.
Right. At least they're on the road this week, man. Well, it is up in the Meadowlands, so I'm sure Eagles fans will travel pretty well up there, but still nothing quite like the link. But
they'll get neighbors back for that game. Right?
Yeah, great. With that said, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Phaithful Fanatics show. As always, I'm one half your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Make sure to follow on all social media platforms, specifically the Twitter channel, and then check out the link tree in our bio. It'll take you right to the YouTube link specifically. It's the best spot and the only spot, really, to get your questions and your thoughts, pull it up with us and be interactive throughout our live streams. We will be back on Turf Talk tomorrow night, so make sure to sub to that channel as well. Breaking down this past week's slate and talking some Thursday night football with you guys. We'll be back Friday morning talking all more of the same: Eagles, Giants, Flyers, Martian, Sixers, and whatever else we want to get into. So make sure to strap in, tap in, and subscribe.
Yes, sir.
Peace out, everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Peace, everybody.